I think one of the biggest issues we have right now is this moral grandstanding that people try to do. For example, if you don't agree with my opinion on XYZ topic, then you're a bad person, you're racist, you hate babies, and you want to kill puppies. So like, for example, I remember a couple years ago during an election, we had a proposition that would have mandated Uber drivers and Lyft drivers and basically the gig economy, Uber Eats and all that. It would have mandated that they provide healthcare and benefits to their employees, to all Uber drivers and Lyft workers. Now, I remember I told a friend I'm voting to not provide healthcare and all this. On the surface, it seems like, oh my God, why would you say that? And this is how the friend responded. You hate Uber drivers, I drive Uber, you hate me, you're against workers. When in reality, the reason why I did not vote for that bill is because, let's say we have 1 million Uber drivers total, just to use one company and one whole round number. If Uber is now responsible for their benefits, we go from 1 million Uber drivers to, let's say, a much lower number, which means less Ubers, which means higher prices, because there's less competition, higher prices because Uber is now responsible for benefits. This is like one of those veiled laws that will actually end up hurting a lot of Uber drivers and hurting consumers in terms of Uber pricing and availability of Ubers. The gig economy, which a lot of people nowadays use, they might say, yo, I'm just trying to save up money for the next 4 months. So for the next 4 months, I'm just gonna create an Uber, use my car, use that for the next 4 months and be done with it. I'm gonna create an Uber Eats, do this for the next couple months and then be done with it. A lot of people do this when they're in between jobs, when they have a part-time gig and they have Uber on the side. All that's gonna be cut out because now there's a more significant investment per Uber driver. So it actually hurts Uber drivers as a whole. It helps those select few who remain and are able to get benefits. Probably the top Uber drivers in the top cities are the only ones who will remain. But for those smaller Uber drivers who are just looking to get an extra $200 a month or what have you, those are not going to exist anymore. And guess who is one of the main funders, one of the main donors in favor of giving Uber drivers and gig economy employees benefits? But taxi companies. Why? Because Uber has basically taken a huge market share out of the taxi company. The taxi companies know, okay, if Uber is responsible for benefit, they're not doing this because they human rights of Uber drivers. They're doing this because Uber is going to significantly shrink in size if this bill passes, and now that's more money for taxi drivers. But I say all this to say, instead of getting to the meat of why I think this way, people just hear you're not voting for the Uber drivers. Well, you're a bad person, you hate Uber drivers. When really the debate to be had is the details of what I just mentioned. Really, the question that should be asked, instead of just these knee-jerk disagreements, the question that should be asked is, what is the end goal? In this example, I will say, well, my end goal is to keep Uber open for as many people as we can and to keep it as a viable gig job for people who need it during the times they need it. And then we can debate from there. So often we don't get to the details. We get to people hearing your opinion on something and then making a moral judgment on you about it. And this frame of thought has spread. It's not just in politics. It's everywhere. You say your opinion on one thing and then people are they have this knee-jerk reaction to have this moral superiority, to show it's virtue signaling almost. You said this, I'm gonna take the moral position on you and you're a bad person because you think this. Not why do you think this, not what's your end goal, what are your reasons for thinking this. It's really weird. I recently did a video of the 3 reasons I'm not voting for Joe Biden and I'm not voting for him. And it's been this way for years already, since 2016. You say you're not voting for Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden, people just assume you're voting for Trump. And that's an example of what I'm talking about. You wouldn't vote for Biden, so why do you support Trump? Why do you support ICE? It's bro, I never said that. I said I'm not voting for Biden. Well, why are you not voting? You're wasting your ancestors' day. I didn't say I wasn't voting. I'm not voting for Biden. Instead of understanding the why, people will morally try to grandstand. Will you support Trump? Division? White nationalism? Bro, I have my reasons. So it's something that I've observed for a while already. It's been this is not new ground I'm covering, but it's just and when I make a video like that, I expect there to be some controversy. I'm not green here. I'm not green. But even when you read the video's comments, I list 3 reasons why I'm not voting for him. Those should be the things that we are debating. But if you read the comments, no one is really responding. Few people, there are a couple people, and I credit them. Very few people are actually responding to the reasons. They're having the knee-jerk moral grandstanding that I'm talking about. Well, I just unfollowed you because I can't believe you would say this, and you're the reason that's wrong with this country. But it's just interesting. Just an interesting observation I made. So that's all I got for today. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Top5rapwebsite.com. Cyberpunk. Play Cyberpunk 2077.